Information, please. Presented each week at this time by Canada Dry, famous the world over for its fine beverages. Wake up, America. Time to stump the experts and treat yourself to a glass of cool, refreshing Canada Dry ginger ale. Every week at this time, Canada Dry presents Information, please. We supply 4 animated information bureaus. You supply the questions. They think up the answers together with anything else they may feel like saying. Here's how it's done. You may submit from 1 to 3 original questions. For every question our quartet fails to answer, the sender gets $10 with the compliments of Canada Dry. For every question we use, whether or not it's answered correctly, the sender gets $5. So you can make $15 if our experts miss out, which they occasionally do. Our editorial staff may reword your question a trifle. Don't worry about it. Whenever there is a duplication of questions, Information Please uses the one that was submitted first. All questions become the property of Information Please and should be addressed to Canada Dry, 1 Pershing Square, New York City. And now may I present our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Clifton Fadiman, literary critic of the New Yorker magazine. Mr. Fadiman.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Information Please doesn't run on tracks. It isn't rehearsed because it's more fun playing the game without any preparation. The rules are very simple. The experts raise their hands when they think they know the answer. And every time an expert misses, Canada Dry cheerfully pays out $10 to the sender, plus $5 for the use of the question itself. Tonight we have on the job our 3 veterans, that omniscient triple combination, John Kieran, expert on sports and what have you, Franklin P. Adams, New York Post columnist, whose conning tower initials, FPA, are known throughout the land, and Oscar Levant, the quick-change artist who can shift mental gears from music to history to baseball without grinding. Our very distinguished guest this evening is eminent as teacher, scholar, biographer, and more particularly as the ex-governor of the state of Connecticut, Wilber L. Cross. Now, gentlemen, you all know each other. Let's see what else you know. The first question, coming from Washington, D.C., thought up by Mrs. W.F. Crosby, has to do with the heart interest of certain famous ladies. The following gentlemen are mentioned in history because they were once the heart interest of certain famous ladies. I'm going to ask you to name the ladies. The first gentleman is James Hepburn, Earl of Bothwell. He was the heart interest of what very famous lady? Mr. Levant.
As long as you said Bothwell, he was a Mary Queen of Scotland.
Yes. At what point in her life did he come around? Which of her husbands?
He was number 2.
No, I think he was number 3.
Well, Rizzio wasn't her husband.
Beg pardon?
What do you mean? It was
Darnley.
Darnley, and then
Wasn't her husband?
no, well, Darnley was, but not Rizzio.
Well, he would be the second. He would be the second of her spouses. That's right.
He's left fielder in the Pirates.
That's a double play for you, Mr. Levant. Very well. Grigory Alexandrovich Potemkin would be the heart interest of whom? Mr. Kieran.
Catherine the Great.
Catherine the Great. He, of course, is only part of her heart interest.
That's right.
Matter of fact, that's why they call her Catherine the Great Heart. Mr. Levant.
I'm very curious about him. She didn't kill him, you know.
Really?
Is that
How
hard?
did you get the information? We're talking to Winchell again.
No. I got it in a Russian tea room.
He was one of the lovers that survived the enthusiasm of Catherine the Great. That's quite true. Count Axel Fersen. Count Axel Fersen. Mr. Levant, you're pretty good on this heart
Well,
interest
this is
stuff.
an MGM night again.
Just up your alley.
Well, that was in Marie Antoinette. He was a Swede.
Yes, a Swede and a lover of Marie Antoinette.
They
Quite
had
right.
cake together.
Now I'll see if I can catch you on the fourth and last. Francis Charles Augustus Albert Emmanuel of Saxe-Coburg. Probably the only man in all history who could have had a set of male quintuplets named after him without any repetition
What's
of
the
the
name again?
What did you say, Mr. Adams?
Say that. Will you say
I'll
that
just
name
say
again?
Joe to you. Francis Charles Augustus Albert Emmanuel of Saxe-Coburg. Mr. Adams.
Queen Victoria.
Yes, he was the husband of Queen Victoria. That's quite right. Her consort. 4 out of 4 on heart interest. What can we do with the next one from Ann Potter of Larchmont, New York? Miss or Mrs. Potter is apparently a sport enthusiast. In what sports are the lineups of men or apparatus arranged in the following numerical formations at the beginning? For example, if Information Please were a sport, the lineup would be 1, which is myself, against 4 for 1, 4. Now, suppose I say 2, 1, 2. The team would be arranged 2, 1, 2 in what game? Mr. Levant.
Wait a minute.
2, 1, 2.
2 guards, 2 forwards in the center.
You've got it. What's the...
basketball.
Basketball.
But not girls.
What would it be if it were girls?
2, 2, 2.
Are there other 6?
Well, I haven't seen a girls' basketball game in a long
Maybe
time.
you see double when
Is
you're
it
looking at the
5 or
girls. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The lineup, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mr. Kieran.
Oh, as numbered that way, that's a polo team.
Yes? Or bowling? Would bowling also be arranged in that way? 1, 2, 3, 4?
Well, it would be doubles, wouldn't it?
Well, you only have one team.
In bowling.
What just one team, I mean?
You can have a team of 4 in bowling, yes.
Bowling or polo, you think? 2, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Mr. Levant.
I'm going to guess. Is that hockey?
It's hockey on my card. Mr.
Because
Kieran,
it
am I
was
right?
6.
Ice hockey.
Ice hockey.
I figured it out 6. Must be hockey.
And the next and last, remember I said lineups of men or apparatus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mr. Adams, I'm surprised that you're not getting this.
That makes 15.
I know something of your sedentary habits, Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams.
Well, it might be in poker, but it might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I hope.
No, it isn't poker. There's another game you play, Mr. Adams, equally badly, and where the only possible combination of men or apparatus, remember, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What's apparatus? I don't know what that
You know what
is.
apparatus is?
No.
Paraphernalia. Paraphernalia, Mr. Levant. That make everything clear?
No.
Mr. Cross, I hope you don't know the answer. I shouldn't like the ex-governor of Connecticut to know the proper answer to that is pool. Pool.
Oh.
The refers, of course, to the setup of the 15 balls in a triangle before the break. Mr. Adams, you play pool, don't you? In a
1,
manner of
2, 3,
speaking.
4, 5, no. It
No?
wouldn't be that at all.
Why not? Figure it out. 15 balls.
Yes,
1
it
plus
is.
2 plus 3 plus... Oh, you play... What sort of pool do you play, Mr. Adams?
The 15 balls.
15 balls.
What about the cue ball?
I'll excuse you for a few
You
minutes,
mean
Mr. Adams.
1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5?
What does it make?
15.
All right, that's what I said. Who's winning, you or me?
You win.
All right. We was to get 3 out of 4 on
I'll
that,
play
and
double or
we
nothing.
did. The next question from Felix Spur of Brooklyn, New York, asks you to identify the famous stories from the following hints that I'm going to give you. I'm going to tell you a little about each story, and you're going to give me the name of the story, and I hope the author of it. A lady pickpocket is transported to Virginia with her husband, who's a highwayman. I suppose she became one of the worst families of Virginia, the pair of them. A lady pickpocket is transported to Virginia with her husband, a highwayman. What famous story has that as one of its incidents?
What period was that?
It's an excellent period, one of the best periods. I'm delighted to catch the look of bewilderment on the face of Mr. Wilber L. Cross, who is probably America's greatest authority on the 18th century. The book I'm referring to is Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe. Mr. Cross, I have an idea you wrote a biography of Daniel Defoe one time.
Of course, yes.
Just never occurred to you.
She got over that.
Well, that's what happens.
She
The
got
trouble is,
over that
Mr.
all
Cross
right.
knows too much about Defoe.
She got over that all right, rather late in life.
But the incident...
And, yes, she got over that and reformed and
Yes.
lived a virtuous life during the last few years of
Yes.
her age.
You make it sound so sad, Mr. Cross. Well, I knew if I gave you a start, Mr. Cross, you could tell us the whole story. The answer is Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe, the one who wrote Robinson Crusoe. Now, suppose I say this to you. The hero of this story knows more about his own birth than most men do, but he isn't christened until volume 4. He knows more about his own birth than most men do, but he isn't christened until volume 4.
Oh, that's
Mr. Cross.
Tristram Shandy, you mean?
Tristram Shandy, not the slightest doubt of it. And the author of Tristram Shandy, Mr. Cross?
Lawrence Stern.
Yes, I'm sure I could get that out of you.
Awfully nice man.
We don't usually allow commercial plugs on this program. Mr. Adams,
That's where the governor gets his nickname,
what is the governor's nickname?
Uncle Toby.
Oh, really? Are you known as Uncle Toby, Mr. Cross?
Well, I have been known that as one of the nicknames. There are half a dozen.
Better known as Sugar.
Mr. Adams.
You see, it is thought that I resemble Uncle Toby in that Uncle Toby would not injure a fly. When a fly is buzzing around his nose, he catches it and goes to the window with it, lets it out, and says, "Go." Poor fellow. The world is wide enough
And you think
for
that
thee
parallels
and me.
that parallels something in your own
Yes,
character,
that's,
Mr. Cross?
that's the kind of
That
man
must have
I
been
am.
awfully nice for the
I
state
have
of
got-
Connecticut when you were governor of it.
I have no get-up to me whatever.
All right, here's the third hint, literary hint. In this story, the heroine is described in detail, and she's loved by the hero, but she doesn't exist. She is a figment. She doesn't exist.
Yes,
Mr. Cross.
that is in Dickens.
You are going through... That's all right, Mr. Cross. You're doing very well. You have the wrong answer, but I'd like to see you struggling with
one
it.
of the novels. they're all waiting.
I beg
for
pardon,
me
Mr.
there.
Cross.
Yes, that is Mrs. Harris. She doesn't exist.
She doesn't exist, but I don't think that she's loved by the hero.
No.
She is described in detail. That's true. Mr. Adams.
Marjorie Daw.
Marjorie Daw is right.
Oh, that's another.
Yes, that's another.
By Thomas Bailey Aldrich.
Yes, watch out for Mr. Adams. He's a dead shot at this sort of thing.
I don't know who loved her.
Well, I'll tell you. Peter Fleming is ill, and a friend, Edward Delaney, you needn't remember these names, conceives the idea of sort of helping him out during his illness by writing to him as Marjorie Daw.
You have Mrs. Harris, you know, also.
You like Mrs. You stick to Mrs. Harris.
Mrs. Harris.
Yes, but I think that she wasn't beloved by the hero. I still stick to that, Mr. Cross. Well, you remember that Fleming answers, and a series of letters ensues, and Fleming falls in love with the non-existent Marjorie Daw. Also a very good story. Now, fourth and last, on these literary hints, a painter's valet is buried in his place in Westminster Abbey, while the painter watches his own funeral from an organ loft. Good plot. Mr. Adams.
Is that Buried Alive?
Absolutely.
By Arnold Bennett.
Absolutely, Mr. Adams. That's quite right. The hero was supposed to have died.
Little did I
Actually
dream
did.
I knew that.
Pretty good. Doesn't it make you feel good, Mr. Adams? Let's see. We got 3 out of 4 on for that one, I think.
3 out of 4 and an autobiography.
Yes, which is excellent. Don't seem to be able to stump them so far. See what you can do with the next. Coming from Mr. K. Martin of Boston. And what we're going to do, gentlemen, is to develop the plot of a short story musically. That is, the pianist will play certain songs, and the board will reconstruct the plot from the song titles, which, when they're given in the proper order, will give us the plot of a good short story, I hope. Let's have the first song. All right, Mr. Levant, that is?
My present mood. 2 sleepy people.
2 sleepy people. All right, now we begin with 2 sleepy people, possibly our hero and heroine. The second song.
Waikiki, isn't it?
Yes, what's the whole title of it?
Well, it obviously is on the Waikiki.
On the beach. On a beach, yes. On a beach at Waikiki.
Wacky.
All right.
Wacky.
All right, the third.
Give us a little kiss.
I couldn't resist. Mr. Levant couldn't resist that. You stopped being those 2 sleepy people, Mr. Levant, with that one, didn't
Give
you?
us a little kiss, would you? Huh?
Will you? Will you?
Will you?
Huh?
Will you?
Will you? Huh? Yeah.
That's interrogating.
That's right. Now we'll have the fourth. Mr. Kieran, did you have your hand up on that one?
Sounds a little old Vienna to me.
Let's have a few more bars of that. This is really the climax of the story, gentlemen.
What is it? Waltz me around again, Willie?
Not a bit. Not a bit. Not on a beach at Waikiki. Missed out on that one, eh? Sorry. The answer is no, no, 1,000 times no. You
I'll
might have
never
guessed
know
it.
that one.
The fifth and last, we now have the finale of the story. Mr. Levant.
That's very dramatic and full of self-pity. Dinner for one, please, James.
Yeah, very good. Rather
Breaks my heart.
Well, there's our story. 2 sleepy people on a beach at Waikiki. Give me a little kiss, will you, huh? No, no, 1,000 times no. Dinner for one, please, James. Sorry we missed out on the fourth, so that $10, courtesy of Canada Dry, goes out to Mr. Martin of Boston, plus $5 for the use of a very amusing question, I think. The next one comes from Julius Elkin in New York City, and I'm particularly fond of this one. Mr. Cross, you can sort of rest on your oars if you wish on this, or come in if you please. Mr. Elkin has asked us to select a group of 5 questions.